Freedom of speech means the right to express opinions without government restraint. The United States inherited this idea from ancient Greece during 1791, after the American Revolution. According to the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights, many similar rights came with freedom of speech, and that is due to how much this meant to the American people.
I think freedom of speech is one of the primary values that is afforded by the First Amendment, and that's what it means. I mean, being an American is about following the Constitution and having the Constitution and the amendments that will protect your freedoms, and freedom of speech is a key part of a freedom in America.
Well, I think it's great to be able to say what's on your mind, to talk openly, freely in public or at meetings. If you go back in our history, we were not able to do that when we first came to this continent. We were under rule of back then was kings and queens, and if you said anything that they didn't agree with, they could take you off and put you in chains and kill you.
Oh, freedom of speech is a fundamental part of being America, isn't it? I mean, as an American, we know it's guaranteed in our Constitution, and this whole country was built on the idea that we get to say what we believe, and that means we get to believe what we believe too. So it's right at the core of what it means here.
So freedom of speech is a fundamental right of all of Americans. I think it was one of the features of our system of government and our way of being as Americans that distinguish us from many other countries and many other cultures.
With the freedom of speech comes responsibility. For example, hate speech can incite others to harm and commit violent acts. Therefore, that violates others' rights. We interviewed people to see if they think hate speech should be protected by the Constitution.
At the ACLU, we believe that freedom of speech should be governed by the people and not by government. That government censorship of any kind creates a slippery slope where then government can decide whose speech is dangerous, whose speech is hateful.
People are allowed to say hateful things, for sure, in protected ways under the First Amendment. As a government official, I can't stop people from saying things that are hateful. Now, we can control and should control things that cause harm, damage, injury to other people.
I would say, given the parameters of libel laws, inciting riots to do harm to others or others' property or community, I think there's a limit on hate speech, but it's hard to break down what is normal good speech, what is hate speech. Where does that fine line of true freedom of speech start or end?
And these people have to pause and think about what we're ultimately trying to change. Even if some of our hearts are filled with hatred, maybe it's because we haven't learned how to express ourselves the correct way, in a way that maybe they can understand.
I don't think that laws against hate speech are effective at curbing hate in society. If you look at Germany or Sweden, both of which have some of the strongest anti-hate speech laws in Europe, they also have the biggest problems with far-right and white supremacist violence.
People have a right to protest hate speech too. So if people are speaking in a way that's hate speech, then other people can fight them with speech of their own. What's dangerous is when the government comes in and tries to decide what kind of speech is appropriate and what kind of speech isn't.
Through our research, we found not everyone has the freedom of speech. In a Supreme Court case that originated in our hometown of Bloomington, Indiana, it was ruled that teachers do not have freedom of speech in their classrooms.
In 2003, and here in our hometown of Bloomington, Indiana, at an elementary school, a first-year teacher was going over political demonstrations with her 3rd to 6th grade class, a multi-age classroom. And they were using a resource called Time Magazine for Kids, and it was about political demonstrations, which we have a constitutional right for. People hold up signs that say honk for peace. And so one of the students said, Miss Mayor, when you see those signs, do you honk for peace? And she said, yeah, I honk for peace. And a parent complained, and she lost her job over that, which she sued, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruling was she did not have the right for freedom of speech, that students are a captive audience, and that teachers don't have the right to put their opinions in their teaching.
The Constitution obviously did not write itself, nor did it take effect automatically. The drafters engaged in a lengthy debate about first principles, and the people carefully considered the terms before accepting them. Their decision reflected free thought, and it required free speech.
Freedom of speech has been an integral part of American culture since the Constitution was written. With that comes the responsibility to be civil and not infringe on the rights of others.